and and creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with pumpkin carvers, sculptors, and multi-talented artists. We humbly ask, please consider giving us a like and follow on the platform you're watching this on. Leave in the comments where you're watching from if you have questions or special guests. My name is Michael Mondragon. I'll be running the show, moderating comments, and from time to time. Welcome to 2021, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
First, he is an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts, and he is the 2019 champion of Food Network's Outrageous Pumpkins, Paul Dever.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Welcome, welcome. Next, he's a multimedia sculpture artist from Tucson, Arizona, and a finalist on Halloween Wars 2019 on the Food Network, Matt Harper.
Hi, guys.
Matt.
And our guest today is a Disney Imagineer, international speaker, and author. She's been in many TV shows, commercials, and films as an actress, artist, and puppeteer. From Southern California, Terri Hardin. Welcome.
Hi, Terri.
Hi, Terri.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for coming on.
So, Michael, you were all garbled until you said Paul.
There's
Fantastic, because that's the way that 2021 will start.
I think you timed it that way.
I absolutely did.
I
And
had my scramble button. I had that going for me.
Is that what it was? Okay.
yeah, so much for 2021 being the beacon of hope.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna start out as clumsily as we did in 2020, but hey, you know, it's a work in progress. We're all a work in progress.
I think the magic word is Paul. As soon as that happens, everything just like the skies open up. That's what happened. Good job, Paul.
I definitely can't wait to hear it back and see what was going on. I have no idea. In any event, so you know, I can't get to this quick enough. We are gonna have a round. We all cheers. We have a drink before we start. Terri, you have a special drink, don't you?
Well, actually, I have a mimosa because Paul and I shared mimosas together when we were on Outrageous. Once we rode to the airport together and we had a mimosa, and then we went our separate ways. And then, of course, 1 year later, people got to know what he knew.
That's it. We got to pick up where we left off.
Exactly.
Awesome. And Matt, what do you have tonight?
So I don't think I have the mimosa. I think I probably have the anti-mimosa. I got this shirt from a good friend of mine. It's a Lemmy shirt from Motorhead. Mickey,
Wow.
thank you. And so he's famous for drinking Jack and Cokes. So because I just couldn't help myself, I found an Avengers cup, just because I'm kind of near and dear to all the stuff Terri's done, and I just wanted to be somehow in the loop. So, cheers. What do you got, Mickey?
All right. Since Terri's here, I'm also in Southern California, so I have a Stone Delicious IPA. The label isn't upside down. It's actually a marketing thing. You're supposed to actually turn it upside down this way. So marketing ploy, but it's actually a gluten reduced citrusy IPA because I've been having way too much gluten lately, so I have to reduce it. Right?
That'll help.
It's only this will definitely help me. So that's what we're having. So cheers to everyone.
Cheers.
Happy creating.
Clink. There we go. Hey,
Got it.
that was kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, Matt, I got you a cup.
Up there we go.
It's fun.
It's like the Brady Bunch. Just
That's right.
Mimosas are good.
Yum.
Hey, look at those. I know those guys.
Those crazy people.
So you were saying that you met Paul on the set of Outrageous Pumpkins, correct?
I was a judge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is actually the show after the judges on Paul's Outrageous Pumpkin were 2 men and a girl, and then the host was a guy.
A guy.
It was what was it, Man versus Food?
Yeah,
the redhead guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. Casey's great too.
So he was the host at the time Paul was carving. And then we also had Mark and we had Ray in the middle, and then we had me. But this one is the 2021 that just passed. And it was a lot of fun too. So I've been judging there for a while.
That's it. It wouldn't be Outrageous Pumpkins if Terri wasn't a judge.
That's a good thing. I just
very good thing.
keep
I love
saying
it.
that. Just keep saying that.
So you've seen Paul do some of his best work, obviously, when he won the competition, which is amazing in itself. And Matt is an accomplished pumpkin artist as well. So what do you guys want to create today?
I just don't want to mess up in front of Terri.
That's we have legit pumpkin judge here who kind of has a lot of sway. Plus, all the things she's been on and been a part of are just mind-boggling. So, from an inspiration standpoint, I can't imagine how. I can't imagine how Paul must feel. But I certainly don't want to mess up either. So,
I'm not here to intimidate. I'm here to support. So,
hey, Mark's here. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Yep,
Mark.
Casey.
Yay, Mark, we got to talk Mandalorian. I finally saw it.
Love it.
You know what? I'm not intimidated at all. Terri is the best. I spent some time with Terri after the show, and she made me feel so much more comfortable about just anything artistic. She just kind of was like a breath of fresh air after hearing her talk. So thank you, Terri. It really did calm my nerves.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you back.
One of the
so
shows.
Nice to talk to you.
Outrageous Pumpkins is a show where it's all on the contestant. There isn't a lot of help, like zero. And it was very cold, as I recall, when you guys were carving, and you guys have to be in it regardless. And also, you don't know who's going to win. You really don't know because you have 2 or 3 judges there. And we don't often agree. So the best thing to do for anyone who wants to enter this contest, should it happen again, is to just head down, butt up, and just don't look at everybody else. Do what you've got planned, because you just don't know what we're going to like and what we're not going to like. Last year, that was one of the things that I think got Griffin. I think confidence was her thing, and she was my favorite last year. The first 2, she really got it. She did more with what she did, and it was just beautiful. Her carvings were like paintings, but then, and I didn't know anything about her. I didn't know anything about her till I watched the show last year, because we don't get those backgrounds and stuff. And I have a policy against talking to contestants until afterwards, because I want it to be your work, not you guys, because you can fall in love with you guys, and then you're kind of like, I don't really want to see him go, and then you don't want any of that magma in there. You want it to be about the work.
Yeah.
So
very true. Yeah, the one she did, we've talked about it before. I think we actually talked about it with Griffin, was the with the light post in the cobblestone walkway, and a couple of racing.
The other, that was brilliant.
It was Envy.
Envy, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It
really
was
cool.
It was like a painting, but it was on a pumpkin, and she had carved it, and you could see the depth, and you could see. I just said, "Oh, if this girl keeps going, she's going to really give these guys a run for their money." And,
she is. She's not going anywhere. She'll be around.
Yeah, well, then I see her. Now then I learn about her, so I look her up on Instagram. She's a rock star. She's amazing. So I was like, and I even wanted to take her class, but I just because she has this carving class. I thought, oh gosh, I'd really like to take it. So you guys really inspire me as well, because pumpkins are not my life. And my life is a multitude of things. It's a Rolodex of things. So I'm good at stuff, but I'm not as excellent as those who just keep on that same thing, So I'm always looking for new ideas and stuff, and new techniques and stuff. So I'm always learning on the show. Yeah.
You're excellent at a lot of things.
Thank you.
You are really good at a lot of things. And that's what's it, the jack of all trades, right?
Yeah. I see that someone's asking about 2021. I can't say right now, but I hope so. I hope there's another Outrageous Pumpkins coming down the way.
You got to stay tuned to find out.
I would love to. I'd love to watch it.
So I hope there is. Yeah, I do.
Paul, what are you going to carve? Because I know we. I picked out a butternut, and I want to find out what you're carving first, and then I'll tell you what I'm carving. But I was stuck with whimsical, because I know I see a lot of stuff Terri does, and the Disney stuff kind of really, kind of got me inspired. Like she's got a trio of. We'll talk about this in a minute, I promise. the ghosts, the hitchhikers from Haunted Mansion, and they're just amazing. And I was like, I want to do something kind of cute. So my brain doesn't usually go to cute. I usually end up being scary, macabre, gross, wrinkly. So this is going to be a challenge for me, but that's kind of where I'm thinking today. How about
And
you, Paul?
do you like challenges? Because you don't have to. I like
I
challenges.
I love them because it pushes. Paul and I talk about this all the time. Mickey too. We talk about how, like, if we're not pushed into a certain place, you don't even want to go there. So you don't, so you never really experience it. But we've on this show especially, we've kind of forced ourselves. We usually spin a wheel, and we don't even know what we're carving until the wheel tells us. That has forced me into some really crazy places, and it ends up being great designs at the end of the day. But it's it's fun stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
I went down, well, like usual. I never really have a game plan. I have a couple different ideas that you sort of just grab out of the air and you gravitate to, all right, maybe I'll go this direction, I'll go that direction. But because Terri is affiliated with Disney, I was trying, and I don't like to copy anything. That's not really something I like to, it has to come out of here somewhat.
Your version.
Oh, yeah.
So I chose a story. And then once I chose a story, I started seeing a character from a different version of the story. So I'm going to do kind of my rendition of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, fun.
Nice.
Not quite the Fred Flintstone from the Disney movies. Not quite the Tim Burton kind. Somewhere in the middle, I'm going to find my own. I'm going to make my own. That's where I'm at.
All right.
What about you, Terri? What do you got going on?
I had a very busy day today, so I have a couple of little study sculptures that I did. I'm not going to carve a pumpkin. I don't have a pumpkin. I don't have anything growing in my yard. Well, I actually do have a couple pumpkins, but I like to put them in my yard and let them rot.
Yeah.
So I've got one that's really far gone now. He no longer has any features anymore. He looks like something from the zombie apocalypse. And so, yeah. So yeah, and then I'll also show you guys stuff from my repertoire, like you and I had discussed before.
Yeah.
I'm actually struggling a little bit with my iPad now. For some reason, it's not wanting to be friends with the computer. So I'm sitting here saying, "What's your problem?"
Well, Mickey
we'll get it together. I have
moderator of the world.
I figured you did. You did. So we'll make this happen.
And Mark wants to hear some puppeteering stories from the legend.
Mark took the words right out of my mouth. All day I was thinking about how I want to ask Terri what it was like.
So let's start here. There's a lot to start with right here. So tell us what this is about and how it led to your obsession of Star Wars.
Years ago, as a young girl,
in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, well, not really, but what happened was that as a kid, I was very artistic. My mother is an amazing watercolor artist, and I used to sit and watch her. But I was one of these curious kids that if there was a fork in a light socket, I was going to find it. So I started doing puppets and things a long time before. I think at 8 years old, I decorated Easter eggs, and I did them very differently than most people. And my mother was able to take them to her work and sell them for $20 a piece, and I was 8.
Wow. So
my mom said, "Oh my goodness, this kid is like, I don't even know how." Wow. So what you're looking at here is I'm not going to tell you the whole story because you guys only have 90 minutes, but I am going to write a book. And I just got it to work, so I'm just feeling very superior right now. But anyway, so the first thing I did was I decided to sculpt Yoda, and the Yoda is sculpted with a pair of Fisker scissors. So let me tell you, these are Fiskers right here. This is what I used to carve the Yoda out of foam from a couch.
That's what they're called.
Unfortunately, it was my mom and dad's couch, and they weren't real happy that I took the foam from it, but oh well. And the eyes are ping pong balls I hand painted. And then if he opened his mouth, I made teeth out of wax. And I made his entire outfit, including my entire outfit, including my hat and my gun belt, etc. And I called myself A New Hope because I had seen Empire Strikes Back. And Yoda said, "There is another." So I said, "Okay, I'm going to be the other." And it was fantastic. I was competing in what now is called cosplay contests, but back then it was costume contests. And I sat in a session with some of the top costume people who had won, and they were saying it's not enough for you to strut across the stage and just, like a fashion model. Don't do that. Create 90 seconds of magic. So I put, just like in the 40s, I put like a little bit of dirt. I put makeup here and to highlight my cheekbones, a little makeup here to look like I was, movie dirty. I had my puppet up in the air. And when it came my time to be in the contest, about 2 people before me, I was in the back room going, and people were looking at me like I was crazy. And then I had Yoda on my arm, and they go, Terri, you're on. And I went, okay, boom. And I ran up on the stage. And the idea was I had written the show to be that Yoda would ask me a question. So I'd go, oh, Master Yoda, I'm so excited. And he would say, concentrate, levitate the audience, you must. And I went, oh my goodness. Okay. So I had Yoda on this arm, and I went like this, and I went like this, and I had my eyes closed. I expected that no one would get up. And when no one got up, I would say, oh, what did I do wrong? And Yoda said, poor training or something, right?
Yeah.
But when I opened my eyes, everyone was not only standing, but they were standing on their seats.
Oh, cool.
So I had the puppet like this. I opened my eyes and I went, ah! Now my mind is going, what do I do? What do I do? I got 2 seconds. What am I going to say? And I went, Master Yoda, I did it. I did it. And he hit me with his cane. And he said, great kid, don't get cocky. And I ran off the stage. And I took Best of Show. Back then, that was $150.
Wow.
Plus a really great gift bag. So it was wonderful. And then from that day forward, people all knew me as the girl who had the Yoda puppet, and they would come and they'd talk to him, and he would talk. And I have him preserved somewhere in my garage, but maybe another time, should I find him, I will. But he'll probably be a little crunchy because he's soft foam. I spray painted, highlighted it. It's all sculpted, the hands and everything and the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Done that way. But that was one of the shows I did for Empire. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Obsessed.
It's amazing story. And I see in the background, we made mention of this before, is the tail from Splash, right?
Yes, my beloved mermaid tail. I was working on a little film you may know called Ghostbusters. And before Ghostbusters, I saw this wonderful film Splash, and I said, oh my God, that woman is swimming in a mermaid tail and she's not floating. So I said, I got to find out what that material is. I got to find out what's going on. I got to know. And I was working on Ghostbusters, and a guy said, well, if you really want to know, there's a wonderful man named Bob Short. He built the tail. So at lunch, I went to Bob and I said, hey, Bob, I heard you worked on Splash. He said, yeah. And I said, how'd you make that tail? And he said, well, we used Skin Flex 610, and then we did this and we did that, but it was a real pain because we had to glue it with, it was a nightmare. And I said, okay, where do I get the 610? And he goes, you're thinking of building one? And I said, no, I'm going to build one. And he said, no, you're not going to build one. You can't build one. And I said, sure I can. And he said, no. And I felt like, the gauntlet had been thrown. And so I also did a little movie called Dune for David Lynch. And that was done at Don Post Studios. You may remember, those of you who are old enough, that Don Post had this wonderful mask company, and he did all these wonderful masks of various characters, including the Star Wars characters. And I knew him. So I asked Don if I could have a corner of his warehouse, and he gave it to me. And that's where I built my mermaid tail. And that's her. She's actually was built in 1980, and everyone told me the tail would not survive. And it said 10 years, it's going to deteriorate. Well, if you do the math, you realize that she's like 40.
She looks great for her age.
Yeah.
So she gets a spot here because, I'm shocked that she's still there. I did some changes to the tail because I am in costuming and I am in cosplay. So the mermaid tail for poor Daryl Hannah, they had put it around her waist, belly button level. So in order for her to swim and get rid of that seam, she had to be 40 feet below the water.
Whoa.
And I didn't want that. I wanted to be near the surface. I wanted to be able to sit on rocks. I wanted to be able. So I made it so that it would adhere to my hips, and I made it tighter and then brought it down. And then I also lined it with a spandex fabric so that when you glue it with surgical adhesive, it really stays, because you're not gluing it to the rubber, you're gluing it to the fabric that has been incorporated with the Skinflex 10. I know it's very confusing, but a lot of you cosplayers out there know what I'm saying. You're like, oh, no problem, I got this, because you're doing that Warbler and you're making those. I mean, it's just amazing that what they're doing now. But yeah, and she got me a lot of work. That mermaid tail, I had several really good jobs. And then when my first tail got a little bit too old, Kodak bought it from me for $3,000. That was enough so I could do my new one. And that's my new girl right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did Kodak do with it?
Kodak wanted to do a colors campaign, and they wanted to rent a tail, and they did. There were no mermaid tails, and all of a sudden they said that happens a lot. Does anybody have a mermaid tail? Anybody? And laying around, and I just happened to have a mermaid tail. And Kodak reached out to me, and I said, "Well, if you rent it, it's going to be about $3,000." And they said, "Okay." And I said, "Don't worry, if you just it's on its last leg, so don't just cut her up." But they brought it back to me in pieces, but it didn't matter. I have the molds.
Yeah.
So I just made another one, and I revised what I had been doing. If I had today, they have swim fins that are mermaid tail shape. If I had the opportunity to do it again, I would cast the fluke fin over that, so I have more control, because that's where I have the least bit control. My feet are actually in a pocket, and so they're a little bit of play. So it does this when you want the tail to work, and that would have kept that play from happening. But I swam in the oceans of Catalina for an underwater submarine. Guy was marketing his submarine, and it was the kind where you sit back to back. So the guy in front is going, "I know I saw a mermaid. I know I saw a mermaid." And the guy in back is going like this while I'm going.
How awesome is that?
So all kinds of cool stuff. Just you never know where the door is going to open, and I'm one of those go through the door people. So if it sounds fun, I'm going to do it.
Challenge. That's it.
So I was looking back. 1984 was a big year for you because while you were talking about Splash, Ghostbusters, came out, and you said you actually had a story about Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, correct?
Yeah. Oh, these guys. We actually shot it in 1982. It came out in 84. And I don't read scripts well, so I didn't know if it was a hit or not. I just was real excited to be on another movie. I had just finished Dune, and the way practical effects work, and it may work with the other stuff, but I know with practical effects, we were building the still suits from Dune, and we were taking body casts of the actors who needed the still suits, and then we were building the still suits. And then after, when that was all done and the filming was done, and et cetera, one of the guys would go, "Hey, Ghostbusters is hiring. You want to go down there?" And we were all like, "Yeah, sure." So we all ran down to Marina Del Rey and applied. And at that time, there was no internet. I want you to understand, there wasn't a lot of social media. There was no internet. There really wasn't any of that stuff. So you had to carry a huge portfolio with your life inside. And I carried it, and I met with an amazing man, Stuart Ziff, and I opened it up, and he was like, "Oh my God." And he said, "You're a puppeteer?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Ever do film puppetry?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, well, we have this temple terror dog. And do you think if you were to play that character, that it would have feminine qualities?" Now, just for most of you out there, if you're ever asked this question, even if you're a guy, say yes.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. So they put me in the dog, and I moved it around in Puppeteer. They loved it, and they cast me as the dog almost immediately. And it was great. So now it's my second film, but it's my second super huge film. I mean, I knew Bill Murray from Caddyshack, and I loved Caddyshack. My mentor, the person who taught me about puppets, played the gopher.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I was watching this movie all the time and just loving his work. And yeah, exactly, Matt. I was like,
I'm all right.
So the first person I see is, thank you, Melissa. And the first person I see is Bill Murray. And I run up to Bill Murray because I'm so excited. I do this a lot. Okay, if you are somebody that has inspired me and you happen to be an actor, I live in Hollywood. So I do not get shy. I don't get too fanboy. I just walk up and start to tell you about your career and how much I like it. So, so I ran up to Bill Murray and I said, Bill Murray, oh my gosh, it's such an honor to be working with you on this film. And he was like, really? And I said, yeah. I said, my name is Terri Hardin and I saw you in Caddyshack and I just love you in Caddyshack and my gopher, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at me. Did you say Caddyshack? And I said, yeah. And he said, Caddyshack. Seriously? Caddyshack? So now I'm confused. I'm like, why? And he said, well, what about Saturday Night Live? And I said, well, I don't have a TV set, so I've never watched Saturday Night Live. What?
Oh, my.
What? So he turns, like, hey, Dan, I just met this girl and she lived under a rock. And I was like, and so Dan Aykroyd, who to me, reminded me of Stan Laurel when he walked up. Just his eyes were blinking and his hands were, he had that Stan Laurel look to him. He walked up and he said, yeah. And Bill Murray says, I don't know. This girl has got something wrong with her because she has not seen Saturday Night Live. And I don't want anyone on this set if they have not seen Saturday Night Live. And I start to react. I get like, and Dan looks up and he says, Terri, are you okay? And I'm like, and he goes, oh my God, Bill, look what you did. He says, Terri, do you think you're going to get fired? And I go, well, he said, and Dan goes, no. But we must fix this. Don't we, Bill? And Bill says, yes. And Bill picked up this arm and Dan picked up this arm. They carried me and threw me into a golf cart, took me to a screening room and threw me in the screening room, seated next to me now on each side. And they showed me 3 Saturday Night Lives.
Wow.
Now, just if you're wondering what that feels like, it feels like this. Please laugh. Please laugh, please. Because, the pressure is on. But luckily, the ones they showed me were funny. They showed me cheeseburger, wild and crazy kind of guys, and my favorite, which is Land Shark. Oh. So by Land Shark, I was over the back of the seat, and so they adopted me, and I got to stay on Ghostbusters.
That is beautiful.
Scary stuff.
So you were inside. How big was the suit? Because I know, this is an amazing picture. But when you're in the dog suit, because I can picture, there is no Dana, only Zool. So I just immediately picture. So how are you situated inside that?
Well, first of all, people in effects don't know how to build puppets. So they're always very, very heavy. However, I just watched a documentary on Godzilla, and I found out that the first suit for that poor fella was 210 pounds. I don't even know what he was able to do. That to me is insane. Mine was 60 pounds. But, and the way I operated it was that the first scene I shot, one of the first scenes I shot was in the Gozer the Gazarian's temple on the top. So that's 40 feet in the air. You saw all the stairs going up at the top. That's 40 feet in the air. The buckets for the dogs are open underneath. And so it's open. And so you climb into and you clip yourself into this harness. And then you have a pipe at the back that allows you to put your feet, and then your hands go into the head and you stretch your whole body out to lean the dog forward like that. And then you turn his head like this. And someone else is off camera doing all of the eyes and the mouth while you are making all of the expressions and stuff. And it's really cool. So I was also in the refrigerator. So inside the refrigerator, I wasn't actually in a refrigerator, but at the place where we were, they had cordoned off an area, filled it with a lot of smoke and lights. And then I laid on the floor in cross-leg position and pushed up to make the dog go,
Okay. Oh, okay.
you know, with the light in the mouth and all that.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that stuff. That's just because
And then I was in the back for the doorway. So
Okay.
for the doorway when it opens and Sigourney Weaver goes, ah! You know, I was in the back and I'm going,
yeah.
And that's kind of a hand puppet. They gave me this hand
Yeah,
puppet.
the horns going like this.
Yeah, so I can go like that, right? And it was taking a long time. And what has happened is the sequence where the hands bust out.
Yeah.
They busted out, and it's friends of mine, like Steve Neal, and I can't remember who else was under there, but I know he was one of them. And his hands popped out, and then when they went to grab Sigourney, they were kind of like,
yeah.
and she was like, "Cut! What's going on?" And they were kind of like, and she goes, "Guys, really, just grab me. I don't want to be here all night." And they were like, "Okay." So when you watch it, it's kind of funny because then they really grab her. But at the time, they were worried about being inappropriate. So they're super.
Were they though, or were they like, we should probably do this again?
Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't touch her at first. She thought it was so funny because she's like, "Why are the hands hesitating?" Because they're just arms, right? But we have monitors, so we can see what the camera sees,
right?
Because that really saves time instead of, you know. And in production, a lot of producers will say, "Do you really need a monitor? Because then we need a guy and blah blah blah." And you go, "Yes, you're really going to be grateful if you have a monitor, because instead of telling us to move our character over, no, too far, and now down, you know, this can take hours. Whereas if we can see what we're doing, just kabam, we nail it. There we go, you know? So, so we all had monitors we could see, including the hands who could see that they could, but then even when they saw it, they thought, we've got to really restrain her. And how are we we're not enough arms to get across. We're going to hit about here because we're coming up of a sleeve of a chair and we got a monster arm on.
Around. Yeah.
So.
Wow.
So yeah, it was fabulous. And then on the bed, I assisted by doing like eyes and teeth, because that was another guy under the bed doing that dog. And then I just, you know, accented with rows and growls and snarls. And stuff. Radio animatronics like this. Same with the librarian ghost. When she went, rawr, you know, like fingers or teeth snarl, I can't remember, but it was you know, it's very different from Henson, because Henson has a box where you can do all of that at one station. But this kind of technique was a bunch of cables coming out and various puppeteers taking care of one or two cables. So we would move eyes or toes or teeth, you know, whatever.
Wow,
so it took more people. But Henson wanted to have as few people as possible working the character. So they made what's called the Big One system. And you're able to do, you know, I can show you a picture of what it looks like if you guys are interested.
Fascinating.
Sounds like Jim had it figured out. I mean,
yeah. Well, it's just amazing.
I grew up worshiping Jim Henson.
Me too.
Yeah.
Just him and Frank Oz, just their voices alone I'd come running from the other room being like, "Is that Fozzie? Did I just hear Kermit? I just heard somebody. Was that Zoot? I thought I heard Zoot."
I was a super fan of Frank Oz. So Frank chose me for Frank chose me to be in Indian in the Cupboard.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, he chose me to be his puppeteer on that. And it was a real honor because I was like, "How did you choose me out of everybody?" He said, "You got to be egoless because you're working with Kevin Clash." I said, "I'm not egoless. I'm just Kevin Clash's assistant on Dinosaurs and Baby Sinclair. He's the lead and I follow." But he goes, nah. I said, "No."
Dinosaurs was another one that I was infatuated with.
Dinosaurs lasted a long time, didn't it? I mean,
and it's going to be on Disney Plus in January.
Oh, cool.
Yay!
Okay. Gotta love me.
That is great.
Yeah,
there we go.
Hey, there it is.
And check out this hair. Yeah, you're going to see different styles, guys. Very different as I go through. And right next to me is John Kennedy, and in the middle is Kevin Clash, the voice of Elmo and Baby Sinclair. And I loved being a part of Team Baby. I was Baby's arms, and I thought that was the better job. Kevin will tell you the voice and the head was the better job. I don't think so. I think I had the better job.
Oh my goodness.
And John Kennedy was at the Big One system doing eyes and brows. So the key to being a good puppeteer is team minded. So no matter whether you're working a character and you're working with other people doing characters, you have to be team minded because you have to make that character work in sync. And so if you just want to see your character on, like let's say you're doing hands. If I did this all the time, poor baby would look,
Right.
having problems. So baby Sinclair, I had to do the hands to accent what Kevin was doing, and John did the eyes, and he was a magical character. He was the star of the show. So what's not?
Oh my goodness.
I loved doing baby. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you told me that you were in the arms of baby. Baby was the best part of the show.
It was so much fun. I got to rip books
hilarious.
up. Thank you, Loretta. I used to rip books up, and that was my favorite thing. And then my very, very favorite thing is at this time, I'm also a Disney Imagineer. All right. So while I'm shooting dinosaurs, I'm also working a little bit with some of the people over at Disney. So one of the things that Disney kind of teases about is Michael Eisner. Some liked him, some didn't. And so I got the opportunity during the 20th anniversary, maybe it was the 15th anniversary of Walt Disney World. Whoopi Goldberg and everyone did a special, and they asked Baby to come and sit in and do a scene with Michael Eisner. So Kevin wasn't available, so I got to do it with Brian Henson. And Brian was often doing some things for Kevin because of Sesame Street. So Kevin operated Baby, and he does a fantastic job. And he came. We went there, and all of these dignitaries, because Michael Eisner is CEO, they're all walking up and they're going, "Okay, we have these bottles. Baby Sinclair is going to hit Michael Eisner in the head with a bottle, and here are the bottles that we think you can use." And they were like inflatable, super soft. And Brian says, "I'm really sorry, but Baby has a bottle, and the bottle has a dinosaur in it. And we cannot change the bottle that Baby has. Baby has a signature bottle." And so they go, "Oh, well, let's see it. So they saw it, and it's hard plastic. And Brian says, "Terri?" And I went, "What?" And he goes, "You be nice. You hit him gently." And I'm like, "Okay." "Okay, I will." And so I was positioned behind the chair, and Baby sits in the chair, and Michael Eisner comes in and says, "Baby Sinclair, what are you doing in my chair?" And Baby says, "Number one." And number two. And Michael goes, "Ah!" So he comes over, and there's some sort of thing. And then Baby says, "Wise up." If you watch the show, that was one of the things he said, "Wise up." He would say that all the time.
Yeah.
My idea was to clunk Michael Eisner in the head. So I did a light little tap in honor of, since my boss is operating the puppet. I said, "Okay." Yeah. And so I went book on Michael's head. And Michael says, "Oh, can we cut?" And they cut. And I said, "I didn't hurt you, did I?" He said, "No, as a matter of fact, I'm not the best actor. So if you'll really hit me, I'd really appreciate it." And I did this.
Okay.
Sure.
Green light.
So I went like this with the baby, and I went bam, and it went crack. And the guy upstairs said, "We won't need to Foley that." So it was hilarious. Michael fell back, and I had said to myself, "This is for the Imagineers." There you go. And, well, bam. And it was the best. It's the best fun. Baby got to do all of the best stuff. Baby got to do a music video. We did an amazing music video. We had so much fun, and it was great to do that character. Always a pleasure to do that character. And you had to be strong. And Kevin is one of the strongest physical puppeteers. The baby was 70 pounds.
Wow.
And if any of you watch Dinosaurs and you remember the one where the baby gets his little cookie stolen, and he blows up a hole in the wall, and then he crawls through it, kind of combat style. Well, in order for that to work, we have to have the puppet over our head. So Kevin hoists this puppet, 70 pounds over his head. And then I have mechanical controls that make the hands go like this. And then together we're like this, but it's all over our head. So, and then he discovers, and then John, of course, is doing the eyes and stuff off camera. But it was a very physically challenging show, that particular one. But Kevin had no problem. He would just hoist it up and there we would go. And a lot of people don't necessarily think of puppets as being very physical, but in film, they really are.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure that you're strong enough for the people who build them in film, and dinosaurs was no different.
They looked heavy. They looked legitimately. They looked like dinosaurs, like heavy.
Oh, I love what you're carving. Did you just do that? That's adorable.
Well, I'm working on it. Actually,
it's
you know what's funny is it's actually further along than that. It looks like that portion of the camera froze up. Wow, look at that. I'm gonna do this again.
It looks good.
Thank you.
Oh, I got my little guy.
Oh, look! It looks like a tiki.
There we go.
So right now I'm thinking like Lumiere, like so he's got that little.
Oh yeah.
So I'm thinking like if I can carve this out nicely and get his eyes right and his smile right, and then how the side of it is like the chalice or wherever the candle sits in. So I got a lot of work to do, but the shape of it was like, a perfect whimsical looking like, face anyway. So I'm thinking Disney, Lumiere. We'll see what happens.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My camera reset. There we go.
Did it? Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. It was a lot further along.
Yeah. I kind of like the reveal. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Only got 1 million more miles to go on it, Terry,
Exactly.
A million more. A
Still
million
scratching.
more.
So when you're doing a sculpt, do you ever feel done? We ask everybody this, but how do you know you're done when you're sculpting?
It depends on what it is. And it's a really good question. You might not think it's a really good question, but it's a really excellent question. Most of the time when you're sculpting, like a pumpkin, we'll say pumpkin because you guys are sculpting food, or clay or whatever, you go from A to Z. It's pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hired first with as a Disney Imagineer. I was hired first to do rock work. And when I did rock work, sculptors were like, why would you do rock work? Rocks are so boring. Yeah, well, have you ever sculpted rocks?
Right.
Well, no. Well, then what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So honestly, it is just an amazing. I'm going to see if I can find the very first thing I did for Disney. Oh, yes, here it is. Hi, yay, and it's working.
All
So
right.
look at that here again. So we are doing Big
God.
Thunder right here. This is Big Thunder Paris. And the beautiful thing about Big Thunder Paris, as we're carving those rocks. And what you see my hands on is my arch that I created. And we had, you were saying, Paul, that you don't use examples. I love examples. And we had some things that the other show producers had suggested that they wanted this to look like. So on the table, you'll see that there's an arch and I'm kind of doing it's not that I copy it. It's just, this is the style I want to do it. So To get back to your question, with rock work, you stop halfway in. And I can't even explain that to you. But the minute you go all the way to the finish, like you would a pumpkin or a regular clay sculpture, it looks fake. It looks absolutely fake. And so it's that God is God moment where you're like, oh my goodness. Like, for example, people say, well, could you do horsehead rock? And you try to do horsehead rock or papoose rock, and it would look really bad. And I said, that's a God moment. We're not going to be able to label it. We might have a rock that people might name, but so in the rock work division, whenever I was doing caves, caverns, and things like that, a lot like my Dragon's Lair that I did, which of course is like, okay, I should show you what it really looks like. So here it is in Paris.
Oh, look at that.
So there's the actual art. It's really neat to have something that's going to be there long after I'm gone.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And there's my sculpted arch all by itself. So you can kind of see that arch, and then there it is.
Wow.
There. And I absolutely cried. Honestly, I cried the first time I went and saw it because it was just. And then the epitome of anything that you ever get to sculpt, you get to sculpt your dream, Dragon's Lair Paris.
That's cool.
There I am in Paris, and I fought really hard. I had to pitch really hard to get to do this, but dragons are my absolute favorite thing. And I pitched, and the president and the vice president of Imagineering said, okay, you can do it, Terry, if you design the entire show.
Wow.
And that was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Yes, of course I did. I was so excited. So to answer your question is, it really depends on what you're doing. If it's something that is a natural, nature-y kind of thing, you may find yourself stopping about halfway through and it looks great. And when it's a sculpture, you go till that spark happens.
Yeah.
You know? So many people are very proud if they're self-taught. I'm sorry. That's arrogant. Okay. Self-taught is not necessarily a good thing, because when you go and you get training, especially if you have this self-taught talent, it allows you to take your sculptures to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that important? Because let's say you go into a store and you fall in love with something. You love angels. I always use the angel example. I'm not sure why, but I always use the angel example. And you go in and you look at angels, or it could be your favorite dog, like a bunch of bulldogs, and you wonder why you pick up one and not the others. Okay. 5, 10, 20 bulldogs, but you pick up one. Chances are that person has had training. And the reason I say that is because when you have training and you create something, you give it a soul. So how do you give something a soul if someone doesn't help you to understand when you're sculpting how your characters or your creations can have that extra spark that makes people just go crazy for what you're doing? And that's what I learned when I took training. At the first, I used to say, oh, I'm self-taught. And what I realized was that being self-taught was not something for me to brag about. I had to have training. So I trained, and I learned really quickly that if I focused on this, that I could give my characters that I sell to people, they can be so dynamic that people put the money down before they think of the price.
Right.
And so that's why Disney put me in collectibles, because they would see my work and people would just go, oh my God, I gotta have it. So we talked about Groot before. Here's my clay of Groot. He's only, he's about 4 inches tall, but when he's all cute, there we go. But here he is all done. And people said, that's not a sculpture of Groot, that is Groot. I don't know if you agree, but that's always my goal, is to make it like you've seen the character frozen in time, so that you have him sitting on your shelf and you feel like maybe you could talk to him or whatever. So I know that's a long-winded answer to your question, but
no, it's
that's
me. It's the right answer to the question, really. This year was going to be the first year that I actually tried to get training. And the whole, all the craziness that's happened in the last year, the classes got canceled.
I know, bummer.
But so I said, why not carve butternut squash for the next 9 months and stay relevant with carving?
And I think it was great. I would watch you post often, and I'd say, man, I mean, I saw a lot of artists that post and post and post, and I'm bouncing around doing a few things, and I said to myself, that's really a great idea. In fact, I did some on my YouTube channel. I have a couple of stop motion things I did a la Disney using household stuff. So I had some teacups, and we did a teacup ride party, and then we did my wedding topper became a haunted mansion thing, and it's stop motion, and it was a lot of fun because I've always loved doing stop motion. And so I just took objects and just played with it, and and I love Lego, so I did one with my Totoro. I was very proud of that one, and
I love that.
Just all kinds of crazy stuff like that. It was just really, so I'm with you on trying new stuff.
Yeah, and I wanted to chime in on the self-taught thing. Mark Evans said that it's really great advice for artists to find mentors and teachers. And so, for instance, I'm self-taught. I couldn't go to college when I wanted to, and so I became a painter straight out of high school. So I went and found my own job and became a painter, became a graphic designer. Through that process, I have a 30-year career. But I say that I'm self-taught, but the thing that I really should say is that I'm a lifetime student, because as someone who's self-taught, I'm never not learning something. I'm learning from, Matt and Paul have jumped me into the carving game, and that's not
Exactly.
my forte, and it's a very uncomfortable place. Yet it's really heightened my artistic awareness and my dexterity of like thinking. I'm just like, oh my gosh, and I tell them all the time, like I'm struggling with a lot of stuff, but it's a good struggle. So yeah, it's as someone that's self-taught, yeah, I think it's more. I think it's also almost like an admission. It's like, hey, I wasn't formally trained, but I'm in it for the long haul. I'm trying to take my artistic talent as far as it can get me. But I also love mentors. I love being mentored. Unfortunately, I lost a great mentor recently, and he was the same age as me. So it's funny how you can find mentors, and they could be younger than you or older than you. It doesn't matter. So, and I'm really inspired by your story, Terri, because you just went for it and you created a career out of it. And it's
well, and what you say is that you got a job painting. What was your medium?
I did sign painting.
You did sign painting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you jump into something. I don't think you were, and somebody, I can't imagine someone didn't sit with you and sort of help you learn so that's not self-taught. To me, self-taught is sitting down and you're experimenting, like my Easter eggs. Okay.
Gotcha.
The little Easter eggs that I made, my mother said, okay, let's decorate Easter eggs. And I said, okay. And I looked at the Easter egg and I thought, I like doing Easter eggs, but honestly, they're kind of boring. So just in my head, you do them colors and everything. And so I did them. That's me as a little kid. So that's not what I want to show. So I'm going to go to the Easter egg. Okay. So here's my Easter egg.
Oh, you found them.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So as an 8-year-old, I just love to draw. So I found just by accident that the Easter eggs float and they make another color. And I was like, ooh, if I just let it float. And then I draw these little characters on it with a pen or something. And then, and then the next thing you know, I'm getting paid and I'm 8.
Yeah.
So people are saying, artists are broke and stuff. But to get back to what you're saying, Michael, is that I only went to AA degree. And then all the teaching that I got was, so I would call it street smart teaching.
Yeah.
Everything I learned was from getting a job and training on that job. And, because, for example, Matt was talking about his daughter and she's creating a puppet, her first puppet, the best way she can. But I was in the middle of a bunch of puppeteers and I basically just listened to what they had to say, implemented it. So I don't think you're self-taught. I think you're right there. I was really grateful to have a little classic training because I had a really crazy teacher who hated me doing realistic art. He thought it was, you might as well take a photograph. If you're going to do realistic art, it's a waste of time. You might as well take a photograph. And I was like, that's ridiculous. But, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Who says that? And he's like, seriously, no. And I said, come on, and he said, no. So he gave me a challenge and he said, I want you to create something, but I want you to work on the feeling. I want you to create a feeling, not your feeling. I want you to make the person who's observing it feel what you want them to feel.
Yep.
And it was really a challenge. And I really, really loved it. I really loved it because he wouldn't let me do anything like people. I did portraits to get me through college because I didn't have a lot of money. So to make money to go to junior college, I drew portraits and sold them for $50 a piece. And got me. And then I did cosplay. And 1 year during Halloween, I won $7,000. So yay, college. So it's just that kind of thing that you just, I can't, my parents were like, we can't afford to send you. And I was like, and I'm not that bright. So no scholarships are coming. So I said, all right, I'm going to just do whatever it takes to get it. And that's me. It's a whatever it takes kind of, kind of a person. So.
And once you do that, you'll find yourself in situations that you never thought that you would be in. And I'm going to bring up this one. So for Dune, I mean, you had a unique role in Dune.
Yeah, Dune was crazy. Okay, so I am very excited. I'm saying to myself after seeing Star Wars, I've got to get in the business. How do I do it? How do I do it? And I saw Star Wars 181 times. No VHS, no video, all in theater.
In the
A
theater.
story for another time. Basically, I am a costumer, so I changed my hair, I changed my clothes, I hid in the bathroom, and I would just sit through all day and see every single one, and I would write down all of the names, and I would sketch the people and do whatever I could, but I stayed all day and then after 5 days, I had seen it 67 times.
Good Lord.
So the goal was to get in there and do this stuff. I wanted to, how do I do it? So anytime I could find someone who was on that credits list, I would seek them out as best I could. Back then it was a newspaper. Those things with ink, and they're about
never heard of it.
big. But anyway, so had reporters. But anyway, so a friend of mine said, well, Terri, you really are good with your stuff is really good. Why don't you, can I get you an opportunity to go talk to the people over? They're doing a new movie called Dune. So I took my portfolio, went over there, and they said, we're going to do this movie called Dune, and we're looking for people to build the still suits. And I said, oh, I'd really love to do that. And they said, you brought your portfolio with you? I said, yeah. I said, but I don't do the clay. I can't afford, honestly, full disclosure, I can't do the clay or the molds or anything like that. So I did it in foam. And they went, what did you say? And I said, I sculpt everything in foam. And they said, are you kidding? And I said, yeah. And they go, oh, you got to see this. And they opened it up, and the patterns for the still suits were all foam.
Oh, wow.
And I opened my portfolio, and they said, you built that out of foam? And you built that out of what? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been practicing doing exactly what they want, and I didn't even know it. So they said, what kind of money would you like per hour? And this is because 82 was, so I think this is probably around 80, 79, 80.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was working at a carpet cutting place, cutting car mats that said Audi, BMW. Reason I liked this job was because I could work 4 days, get paid for 5, and I didn't have to work on Friday. And conventions went Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it left me free to compete without having to beg for time off. So it was a great little job. Boring as all get out, but I'd just get opposite someone faster than me, and we would race, and then the time would just go really fast. So I was making $8 an hour there. So I said $10 an hour. I'd like $10 an hour. And they went, oh, that's pretty good. Okay, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. Well, by the time they finally hired me, $10 an hour was top dollar. And they gave it to me anyway because they knew I had foam sculpted. Now, honestly, I had never done it professionally. I'd done it for me. But I said, what's the difference? Just make it like, and they had these pattern charts and all this stuff for Dune. But I was really, really super, super happy and really proud to be a part of it and everything. And I started sculpting the suit, and they said, wow, Terri, you have a real ability with doing these still suits. Because what they had done, and I'm going to show you, here I am in my stunt still suit.
Oh, wow.
So there I am in the still suit, running around being Sean Young while she has a cocktail in her air-conditioned trailer while I sweat and die. But
where was the shot? Where was this film, Terri?
Churubusco, Mexico.
Wow. Okay.
In August.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's nice and chilly in August.
Yeah, nice and chilly. Like really, really creepy time. And here's what we did. Here's Sting. I did a mold of Sting.
Oh my God.
And here in the bottom, I'm doing a body mold. So we had to take body molds of the actors. And this is our team over at the Downpost Studios. That's where we did this. And so, so we did that. It was a lot of fun. It was really amazing. But they saw what I did and they said, man, Terri, you have this ability with these still suits. Because they had patterned the still suits. So the designer was Bob Ringwood. Bob Ringwood saw a sculptor who had worked with leather. He sort of, I don't want to say copy, but he sort of use that style for the still suits. And he created the still suits. And then, but anyone who was foam carvers, and there was a team of about 25 of us, 25 of us, but people who weren't real understanding about patterns would take the Kyle McLaughlin pattern and try and stretch it or squish it on people who didn't have the same body type. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Gurney Halleck, if you know Dune, Gurney Halleck, which was later played by Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, yeah.
Okay, Patrick Stewart ended up playing Gurney Halleck, but before that, it was Aldo Ray. Aldo Ray was an actor from the 50s, a really amazing actor, one that I absolutely adored, but he had gained a lot of weight. And so they came to me and they said, we have this casting of Aldo Ray, but we've got to make him look cool. He's going to be Gurney. He needs to look really super cool. And so I said, no problem. And so they said, do you think you can do it? Yeah. So I did it so that his chest looked big and it came in at his waist and his hips went out and his legs looked amazing. And Bob was so excited about the suit that he showed it to Frank Herbert, and Frank Herbert was impressed. And then Aldo Ray went to Mexico, got drunk, and got arrested.
As you do. As you do.
That's usually the sequence.
That's
So the suit never got saw, and Patrick couldn't fit it. And so it was one of those beautiful suits that goes down in history, but I was really proud of it. And everybody was like, man, that is, So I said, when something scares you, so what's the point of this? What's in it for all of you listening? What's in it for you listening is that when you get something that you don't know how to do, you just say, how would I do it? Especially if you're a foam carver or a pumpkin sculptor. Pumpkin sculpting had never occurred to me until I saw a guy in the newspaper, my local newspaper, and he had carved these faces out of pumpkin. And I said, that's interesting. And he used the wood push tools. Best thing about this, he said, is you can use those cheap $5 push tools and it doesn't cost anything and it'll be great. Well, I went and got a $5 set and cut myself to ribbons and said, this sucks. So I pulled out my sculpting tools and I said, you know what? It's November 1st. I'm going to go to my local supermarket. You have any extra pumpkins? I want to carve some pumpkins. They're like, here's a box. Take as many as you want. So another clue is if you want to learn how to do pumpkins, go after November 1st, because a lot of times they discount the prices of them. You can get some beautiful pumpkins for a lot lower than you did before Halloween.
Yeah, the day
and
before.
You can practice and practice and practice and practice, and it's a lot of fun. So I did that and practiced pretty much what you all were saying, is that you sat down and butternut squashed till the cows came home. That's what I did. I did pumpkins and I thought it was really fun. Every year I just did it for myself. And then I spoke to Disney folks and they said, could we do it? So I ended up teaching classes and I taught a lot of classes, and I have a video now that you can watch. You can watch the video. The video teaches you how to do it. And it became this great, exciting thing. So this is my class when it was live. And, it wasn't very expensive to take my class, and the big pumpkins were provided. So people got the opportunity to sculpt something massive. And that was kind of the cool thing about it, is that so let me show you some of my pumpkins. Because I notice a lot of people who sculpt their pumpkins, Ray Villafane, and also Mark. We have this fight about dimensional being lit. It was this, not a fight, but it's just a kind of a dodge parry kind of a thing. He was like, I don't think they should be lit. And I'm like, I think they should be lit. And he's like, I don't think so. And I go, I do. So it's just, so it's kind of like that. So here is some of the larger pumpkins that a farmer grew in Indiana and just gave them to me. He said, here, I thought you could do a really good job with these.
Whoa.
I love,
nice.
You're such a good teacher. Let you have these. And then here is my lady. She is only a 6-inch, 7-inch pumpkin. And I really, really enjoy it to make them look like they're emerging. But look at her lit. I mean, come on. It's gorgeous lit. Why wouldn't you light them? you know. And then this is my otter. I didn't light him.
Oh.
I just thought he was really cute. So I don't always do scary. He's floating on his back because that pumpkin was that shape.
Yeah, I love that.
And then this is that
I
giant
love that
pumpkin.
one. I like that
did
one.
this one with the
That's
dragon
one
and
of my
everything.
favorite yours.
This one is a pumpkin egg. It looks cute, not lit, but it kicks butt lit.
That is better.
It looks great lit. So that's me. There's my lit Cheshire cat.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
And here I am with my demon. And so another guy who was on Pumpkin on your Halloween Wars.
Yeah.
Joe Yakovetic, he's a really good friend of mine, also a Disney artist. He said I should paint it. So I painted this one.
Oh, wow.
I personally don't like to paint them, but this one was kind of fun painting because I'd never done it before. So I tried it because it wasn't really fair to tell him I didn't like it if I hadn't done it. This one was for my dentist.
Nice.
And everybody's smiling with their teeth. And this is a tiny pumpkin. I did this little pumpkin in less than an hour because I did it for old folks' homes. So I'll go to various retirement centers and hospitals and stuff, and I'll do these little guys. This was when I was touring. I did these on a tour. And then this is Cheeky. He's a 3-foot diameter pumpkin, and I like to do teeth. So I did Cheeky. And then these are the weird ones. I love the weird ones. So
that was that's
these
wild.
are the fun ones to do, these like super weird where they have no, one with feet or whatever. So and here's my class. So they're all just really working hard, and I'm there to help them. If they get nervous and scared, then I'm there to help them. That's the picture you just showed. This boy was 9, and he was 9 years old when he first carved with me. There, he's about 27.
Wow.
And when he was 14, a person came up to us at that patch, which you just showed us, Michael. And a guy came up and he said, well, how much for you to carve a pumpkin for me? And I said, me? And he said, yeah. And I said, $500. And he was like, for a pumpkin? And I said, yeah.
Yes, you.
For me? Yeah, $500. This is a few years ago. I did Ellen show, Desperate Housewives. So I said to him, I said, me do it? Yeah, $500. And he said, well, what makes you think you can get that? And I said, well, Ellen show, Desperate Housewives, True Blood. Shall I go on? And I said, but don't get all upset. Don't get so sad. Look at all my students. My students are $200 for a pumpkin. Yeah. And he said, really? And I said, yes. And I said, you just got to walk around and see if there's a style that you like, and then talk to that student, and you can see if they're interested in doing the pumpkin. But understand, they're not going to do what you want. They do what they want. Exactly. If you want lettering, then you can go to my friend over here. He's $300. He does lettering like a crazy person. Yeah. So you can ask him if you've got Rotary Club or you have something you want to do a wedding thing. So the guy walks around and he picks my friend here. This is Cameron. He picks Cameron because Cameron had developed this tiki style. You can kind of see in this picture that he's got this tiki style. He's 14. The guy orders 4 pumpkins. Orders 4 pumpkins. Now, what is the message there? If you're going to teach, it's not about you. It's about your students. Had I said, it's $200 for my students, the guy would have said, what? $200? Right. But after finding out I was $500, $200 sounded great. And that guy was with Cameron for about 3 or 4 years. Every year he'd order 4 pumpkins. And my God. Here's a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old with $800 in his pocket, just not knowing what to. So they were really, the idea is to support your students, help them to realize what more beyond just carving pumpkins for the fun of it. Yeah. Yep. Also, pumpkins are grounded in your childhood. So, and they're going to rot. So when I would teach sculpting or painting, people would sit in front of the blank canvas or the cut clay and go, they didn't want to put the pencil. They didn't want to put a tool. They were terrified. Pumpkin, no problem. Yeah. And as they go, they might be scared, but I go, look, if you don't like it, it's going to rot. You're really going to like it. It rots. So just keep going, Temporary. And it would give them the confidence to go on and create more. So I've had people who have started in pumpkins as a teacher. I've taught them, and they will do more pumpkins and win contests. But I've had people write books. I have a girl, she's on her 5th book, published book. She was too afraid to do it at first, carved a pumpkin, bam. Why does it work? I don't know. I don't care. But this is one of the reasons I teach more than do my own. I really want people to understand you all can be creative, but you just need that ability. So here's my question. What's your superpower? Somebody said this to me. Terri, what's your superpower? My superpower is I'm the match that can ignite wet powder. So you can sit there like wet powder and say, I can't move. I can't go. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I go, well, and I can do it. And I've done it. And I've seen artists just explode. Have I exploded? But they have just gone, you know, and you just go, if I had even a little bit, if I did anything to get you unstuck, then that's my reward, because I can't get over how it works. And I didn't realize that this was anything special. Like if a door of opportunity opens, I go through it. But what I find out is there's people who don't go through it.
No, right. A lot of people don't.
Yeah, and I didn't understand that, Paul. I didn't understand that. I thought everybody did.
I used to do that a lot too. Like for years, I would draw maybe once a year or sculpt something out of clay once a year, just if I was bored. And it really wasn't until I had kids that I really started. I wanted them to, because I always had it inside me, but I really felt like it was the opportunity to pass something along. Like, hey guys, look, if I can do it, you can do it. It's in the blood, you know, that kind of thing. And then it was like, wow, this really is fun. I kind of wasted some years not doing this. And then that's really what. And then, you know,
kids are the best coaches in the world. I don't
force you to be a kid again.
I am one. You know, I am a big kid. So that may be the reason that I just go through everything. But kids are the best coaches in the world. If you want to lose weight, tell your children. If you know, trust me, it works. I've seen parents, and the kid will go, "Didn't you say, Mom?" You know, parents, and you just go, kids are the best, the best coaches in the world. If you want them to help you to get to where you want to go, you know, you give them that mission, and they won't take no for an answer. They're some of the best salesmen.
Speaking of kids,
you can learn a lot from kids.
My daughter's a big, fan of yours, and you gave her some great advice yesterday about puppets. So my question is related to puppets. I got a chance to go watch your YouTube about your chickens. So I want to hear a little bit more about your chickens, because I'm super fascinated by it, but would love to know kind of how you came up with that design, and then tell us about, like, because a lot of the people that watch our show, just fascinated by how you got into Disney, fascinated by how you got into that, but from a commercial standpoint, I'd love to know kind of how you got your puppet, your design, your vision into this. Now, everybody that grew up my age knows these commercials, knows this car. It's fascinating. So I'd love to hear
your East Coast. If you're East Coast, you may not know these guys, but you can go to my YouTube channel, and please go there and subscribe, because I'm trying really hard to be like a real girl. Yeah. And I just started it, and I have a few people, and I would love for you to follow it. And I promise to get better on my content. But I'd love to have some followers over there. And you can look at the playlist, and the playlists have these commercials.
Yes.
Just like Matt was saying, you can watch them all. They are hilarious. And other things, you can dig through the other interviews that have happened, and some of the silly stuff that I've done, my videos that I've posted. I'm learning. For 2 years, I didn't know how to upload to YouTube, guys. So full disclosure, I finally figured that out. Well, I had help, but finally it happened. And now I'm working hard to make it a good, wonderful channel. And I'm in awe of people who have made them wonderful channels. I'm constantly connecting and subscribing to people who have something interesting, and I say, oh wow, this is what they did, and this is how they did it. Okay, maybe I can come up with something or whatever. So I love it. To answer your question, how did you let's see, as an Imagineer, I'd always wanted to be an Imagineer, and I was told that I go up to Imagineering and I fill out an application, and I wait to get interviewed. And if I get a blue card, I get to get interviewed. 45 times later.
Wow.
Plus, the at the top of the application is Mickey.
Me? Not me.
Get lost. You're not good enough. Don't like you. You're not coming. Thought you could sneak in. Basically, I was so angry at this mouse that I wanted to strangle him because I'm like, what does it take? What does a person have to do to get into Imagineering? It was crazy. So I tried really hard, and then I said, okay, I think I'm going to put it on ice for a while. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to breathe. Let it sit for a little while. I'm going to see what else I can be doing. So a friend of mine owned a little place called Shafton's Incorporated, where you built Charlie Tuna, McGruff the crime dog, Smokey the bear.
Oh my God.
The dog, Sparky or whatever, who rides on the truck. We did some Small Soldiers. I made those. And those were walkarounds for places like Universal Studios, and the people that walked around and were these characters. I built those.
Oh, cool.
So I was building and sculpting a water drop for Water and Power. They thought they wanted a walk around drop. So I was sculpting that when a guy came in the back door and he said, Terri. And I went, oh, hi. And he said, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, I'm waiting for, Disney Imagineering to get a clue and hire me. So I'm sculpting here. And he's like, well, I work at Disney Imagineering. And I said, you do? And he said, yeah. He says, I'll put a good word in for you. Next thing you know, it's raining. It's pouring rain. And and so I go and I'm looking kind of disheveled, and I go in, and the guy looks at my portfolio and he says, holy moly, where have you been? We need you. Where have you been? And I said, silly me. I was knocking at the front door. I didn't realize I had to go in the back.
Exactly.
But that wasn't enough. There were 9 interviews.
That's crazy.
To go 9. And on the 9th interview, I got a job with Dolly Parton. Yes, the Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton called. Well, she didn't call. Her people called. Yeah. And they asked if I would be a puppeteer on her Christmas show. And I thought, oh, this is great. A lot of things don't happen at Christmas. I'm starving to death waiting for Disney 3 months, and they still haven't made a decision. So I'll go do the show for 2 weeks. It'll give me some good money. I can live off this good money, and I get to do puppets, and I get to meet Dolly, and it's going to be fun. And then Disney called. And Disney called and said, we want a ninth interview, and we want it smack dab in the middle of the Dolly Parton show shooting. Oh. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't make it. And they said, well, if you can't make it, you're out of the running.
Oh, boy.
And I said, well, snarl. You're not Disney. You live in Fantasyland because you guys are crazy. Well, you can take your job and you know what to do with it. Bam. And I was in my chiropractor's office. And my chiropractor said, problem? 2 days later, they hired me.
Oh, is that how that went?
2 days later. So I said, well, if I knew I had to yell at you to get hired, I would have done it like 2.5 months ago.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just, I don't know what it is. It just was a funny thing. And then when I went for my tour, everybody goes, oh, there she is, the foam queen. And I was like, what? I'm on the outside starving to death because I don't want to, take a job and then leave the person because, boy, if Imagineering is calling, I'm gone, and I don't want to do that to a business owner. So I'm trying like the devil to just hang on. And then all of a sudden, when I walk in there, everybody said, yeah, you were the top person we wanted. And I was like, yeah, I never would have known it if you were me. And it was just like,
wow.
I think I would have been more top had I been a man. That's another subject. But they finally hired me, and thank goodness. So now we go to the chickens, and I get a call because I work in foam. Like I said, I pattern this foam. And this is one of the things that I teach in puppets, because when you can carve them with scissors, you can carve them with a hot wire. I do not recommend that. But you can carve them with scissors, but every time it gets old, you have to recarve them with scissors. You can kind of, take pictures of the block at various stages so you can duplicate it at best. But what's really nice is to create patterns, because when you create a pattern, you can make another one and another one and another one. So I teach people about how to make a puppet skull and how to take your design and make it. And then if you want to duplicate it so you have several, you can do that based on this technique, this foam sculpting technique. And that's how the chickens were made.
Okay.
So I was called in by the character shop, Rick Lazarini's shop, and he said, you're going to do the foam work. I've got sculptors over here, and then I've got mechanics who are going to do the mechanical one, because the drawing was a light bulb and then a beak and dots. That was our drawing to go by. So it looked like, someone very young had done it, and then this was the body. Okay. So it looked like an egg body.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I said, that's got no character. So I said, it pretty much leaves me free to make whatever I want. And that's how I ended up doing the two chickens. I made a skinny chicken and I made a fat chicken. Now, I had to make a fat chicken because I was told they were going to be in the car. So the fat chicken, no offense to Drew, but Drew is the fat chicken and I'm the skinny chicken. And here we're in vision goggles and green because we're actually taking a break. Behind us is a hole that we're in. And my chicken was, digging, and he was getting hit with dirt on our road trip. So you'll see it. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. We did, you'll see dancing where we're full body, all kinds of stuff. But what happened was that when the client came down to look at the various designs of their chicken, they could go to each station and see their chickens. Okay. So the drawing was up, and then you had the Terri station, and you had the sculpting station, and you had the mechanics, which were 2 ping pong balls and a paddle going, that sort of thing. And I had done this body that had a very skinny body and then a little belly. And then the big one had a big wide body and a big belly. And the person in charge said, Terri, you're really straying from the design. So could you do me a favor and not stray from the design? I said, you mean the egg shape? And he said, yeah. Can you just build what you see? And I'm like, okay. And so I built an egg shape. But at Disney, I had learned to put the thing that is built. So I have these 2 bodies that are built, and then I put them underneath my desk and hid them. And then I did the egg shape. Okay. And the guys came through. Now, that my advantage was that the mechanics went, and the client said, They said, we'll put eyes on it, we'll cover it, we'll do a sculpture, and here's the sculpture. And the sculpture was, and you notice they have the little beanie eyes and the little mouth, but it was clay. So it was,
yeah.
And then they came to my station. Okay. It's a puppet. Hey, what are you doing? What's going on? I don't know. Why is it going like that? I don't know. Who are these people? Well, that's the client. What? Yeah, that's the client. Shh. He doesn't look like a client. He looks more like a carrot. Oh, really? You shouldn't say that. Why not? Because he's a client. Well, so what? Are you the client? Are you mad? And they went, oh my God. Oh my God. What are we looking at? What are we looking at? Because it was a foam puppet. I put it on and I performed it.
Give it life.
So they walked up and we said, we want those. But that's a no-brainer, isn't it? You see a paddle, you see clay, or you see. So they saw those, they fell in love with those, and they said, the only thing we don't like is the body. I said, oh, the egg shape? And they said, yeah, it should have a little bit more dimension. I went,
hold on a second. Yeah.
And here they are. Yeah.
What? Let me show you. This is the passenger, the skinny one. This is the, And the reason the fat one was fat, because he's the driver. So there's some things about the chickens you need to know. First of all, our wingmen, the ones that do the wings of the birds, are behind the seat, the front seat. So the seat we lean on has a silhouette where that puppeteer fits in, and his arms are our wings, and we sit with the bird. We lay on the ground, and that bird is the one in the driver's seat. Okay. Then, but the driver bird has to reach the steering wheel. So he has to have an inseam on his arms of 35 or longer, preferably from here to here, that reach. He has to have a 35, 37-inch reach so he can drive the steering wheel from behind us. Okay. So this is how they work. And then I'm putting my head on the universal joint and I'm performing my little bird because he's a skinny bird. Now the fat bird, most puppeteers are usually right-handed. So the problem was that he had nowhere to put his head because there's a car door right here. So the body fitted over him and his camera was inside the belly of the bird, or he had goggles, and then he could perform like this. And that's how he performed in the car.
Like Big Bird.
Like Big Bird. And then later, Rick Lazzarini took those designs. I did the first designs, and he made them bunraku, meaning that they can walk. And he designed them to be the walking birds. So he designed the legs and the walking bird apparatus and everything. And then we kind of became a team. He had to stick with my design because I had established it. But then the birds were walking and the birds were dancing, and we started those commercials in 1993, and they've been going strong ever since. And then COVID hit, and they had a couple of other hits, but there's over 40 commercials.
Wow.
And they're all funny and they're all fun. In 1998, we finally got a Latino agency so that we could do Latino commercials. And, before we were just taking English commercials and dubbing them in Spanish. But Spanish people have a really unique and super fun sense of humor. And so once we got the agency, they're some of the funniest commercials ever. And then the chickens went to Brazil. And we were actually in Argentina for a while. And we got to perform there too. So it was just really, it's been a great adventure, and the birds are amazing. And the reason I got to do it was because I was a puppeteer. They were puppets. And I said, the best thing about animating a puppet is the human hand. As close as I can keep it to my human hand, I always do. So that's really, to me, extremely, extremely important.
So your chickens got you to Argentina, Brazil, all around the world. I think that's such a beautiful lesson, though, for anybody watching, to from a inspiration standpoint, that what you're doing, what you may not know it's going to take you to Argentina today, but if you keep at it, if you keep crushing it, and keep passionate about it, because the passion is, it just kind of, I can feel the heat in this little square up here. Of your passion, coming off the page. So I'm just so enthused by that, and so I'm inspired to start making things like you talked about how the hand is the face, and I know there's the Muppet.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've got my George. Let me see if George is here, because George would be perfect if I can find him, and I'll show you with the puppet what they.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
okay.
This is awesome.
So,
we might go a couple minutes over.
So a lot of times I teach people sock puppets, because a sock is a great thing. And usually one is kidnapped in the dryer. So you take the orphan, you adopt the orphan. I do this with kids. Say, adopt the sock that whose brother got kidnapped in the dryer. Okay. So you take a sock. I probably should have started with the sock, but we'll start with George. So, Paul, you talked about, here is the boa, and the boa it's woven. So for animal, and this was a conversation you guys were privy to, but he wanted to know how to get the longer hair like animal has. Well, animal's off a hand, so it's a lot shorter. If it's going to be your head, then there are other ways of getting it done. But anyway, so George, I love the fun socks, and this is like a fruit stripe gum sock. And hold on just another second. Because if we're going to do this, we ought to do this right.
Yes.
I should not, we should do this right. Okay. So here is your classic sock shape. All right. So I say to people, first thing you do is you put the sock on your hand. You probably have all done this, but I'm going to pretend you haven't. You're going to put the heel. So here's my hand. Here's my fingers bending. Here's the heel. You can pull the heel so it's over your knuckles, or you can pull the heel like this. But you pull it so it's over your knuckles, and then you stuff this in, and you stitch on this side, and you stitch on each side, and that makes a mouth.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Instant. Is that a good idea? Shall I continue? Okay, go. So then you can also say to yourself, you can look at your character and decide how you're going to decorate them. You can pull this up and create a pocket here. And then you can put beads in here. You can put googly eyes. You could put brows, but that makes a brow.
Wow.
So anyway, or you can say to yourself, all right, maybe I'm a little different. I don't want to do it that way. So you can turn the sock around, put your thumb where the heel is, and then you got a turkey. Gobble, 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 gobble. Pretty fun. Yeah, pretty fun. Or an elephant, whatever you were thinking. Okay, so once you've sewn it, and I did this with a group, so I like George because he's super basic. So this is George. Let me just make it beautiful. Okay, all right. So George is very beautiful. Okay, there we go. Pull you down. Are you happy? Okay. So here's George. All right, George. They don't may not have all day. Let me help you with that. So you can see that George's eyes are just beads.
Yeah.
You can't see them, George. They're mystical. And then this is just a pom-pom right here, and it's on my longest finger.
Okay.
So he can sniff. Your daughter should be watching this, Matt. But anyway.
Oh, she's watching.
So that's how you make him sniff. You see, so the hand is so beautiful. Pie plates are great, but let me tell you something. This one, you can do, if you use this as your base, it can be a million things. Isn't that right? So George is going to show you some puppet exercises in case you're a puppeteer and you've been building these complicated puppets, but perhaps maybe you want to try something a little simpler. I'm not forcing you to, but this is how my chickens are done. My chickens have a foam body based on the sock. Then there is a beak that goes here that's made out of foam, and then they can do this. And I could frown. The client didn't like it, but you can do it. So, thank you, George. So I put a little tongue in here.
Yeah.
You got a twitch? A twitch. Never mind. So you can figure out the hair. So I would say to kids, we would go to an adoption station. They'd adopt a sock. So we had already, as a group, sewn in the mouths because they were children. And then we would go to the creation stations where they could get the beads or fur or whatever they wanted. They can make arms or whatever. And then they assemble their puppet. They talk to me. And then they go to various counselors who have the hot glue stations. They glue it for them while the kid directs. And then we put on a show and we do voices and we do everything. So this is something that is really fun, especially if you're bullied. It creates a buddy to talk to. Isn't that right, George? Yes, it is. It is. So here's some expressions. Show them when you're happy. Okay. You look pretty happy.
That's the new intro to our show, by the way.
If he's sad, he can frown.
Yeah.
If he's mad, so how do you do that? This makes him smile. This makes him frown. This makes him laugh. This makes him mad. And this, most kids love, is this move. What did you think about yesterday? How do you feel about COVID-19?
I wish I could make that expression with my face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But I
that's
mean,
great.
honestly, this is why I like socks. And you can do all kinds of things, and you don't have to be, you know, an amazing sculptor. These guys are great. You can use other socks to create arms. I have one which is just, my cat is a stuffed animal that I took and made him different because I wanted a character that didn't look so good. But George is just a happy guy. He kind of pops in every so often on the thing and, you know, tells people stuff and gets tired. Are you tired now? Okay, well, you can say goodbye.
Bye, George.
Bye, George.
They're pretty nice, aren't they? Yeah, yeah. You want to go that way?
Oh, there he
Well-
goes.
Well, we always say this is the quickest 90 minutes, and actually it's gone 100 minutes.
Sorry.
No. I literally, and I knew this going into this. I have so many slides on you that I wonder how many I'm going to get to, and I got to about a third of them. Yeah. But I wanted to make mention. Mark had a really nice compliment for Paul. Dedication of work doing on the show combined with the incredible guest is education itself.
And he's right.
Yes.
Absolutely right. You guys are now, because it's different now. You are no longer self-taught because you have things like YouTube.
Yep.
You can learn anything on YouTube, and you don't want to just sit there and struggle your way through something when you can go on YouTube and learn it from teachers. That's not being self-taught.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I got to say thank you to Mark and to you and to everybody else that's taken the time to join us. Everybody has been so forthcoming with tips and tricks. Jesus, you just showed us how to make a puppet. Like, you know what I mean? And you were showing everybody else how to do it. And I remember when Mark was on the show, I was stuck with how to make, I was doing the frog. I was doing like the frog eating a frog. And I'm like, I got to put bumps and lumps, and I don't have the melon baller tool that everybody seems to have. And he pointed out one of the round sculpting tools. And he's like, you've never tried that? He's like, give that a shot. And right off the bat, I was able to pull out small lumps and bumps, little round lumps and bumps like that. And it was just something like that I never probably would have figured out on my own, sadly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the case. It's like somebody will say, well, have you tried? You know, and you're like, you know, you're absolutely right. It's just like, and that's what I'm saying. Collaboration and teamwork and being an artist who's open. Even if an artist takes what you're doing and tries to copy that, it's not going to be the same because they're not you. And that's the beauty of it. You can have a model, even if it's a pumpkin. I've looked at a couple of Ray Villafaynes and said, I'm not quite sure how he did that part. Let me try that part or whatever. And one of the biggest challenges for me was they kept putting his Predator on my page and saying, look what Terry did. And I was like, no, that's a Villafayne. Thank you for having such confidence in me, but that's not mine. You know, so, but yeah, you're absolutely right. And, you know, anytime, you know, you guys are hurting for a guest or whatever, we can always come back and you can fill it.
I love hearing
Hurting for a guest? Are you kidding me? You're top billing. We can We're going to talk about.
You can say, you know, hey, let me show a few slides and then you can talk about him. That's, you know, it's a crazy thing, but.
Yeah. And this is a safe space to learn, and we're all learning. And it's like, you know, we can apply. I mean, all artists can learn from other artists. It doesn't matter the medium. We have a quick question. I mean, this was probably maybe a half hour ago, but a real quick question. How do you guys get pumpkins this time of the year? Not knowing much about pumpkins.
We get butternut squash. That's all I can get at this point. Yeah.
And
I buy
things.
Do you have a butternut squash that is not carved?
I've got several.
I do.
Yeah, there it is.
So that way people can see what is it.
Yeah, usually they sit like this in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Paul's got is perfect. It's just giant peanut. You know, when you go in the supermarket, look in the hard shell squash area where the acorn squash and the spaghetti squash. these are great because Paul and I have like fallen in love with them because they're so dense in the center, and then when you carve them, unlike a pumpkin, sometimes you just don't get to that stringy part because it's so you get a nice fresh one. You can go really deep, and that's what I love about them. They're beautiful to carve.
Well, and the thing that's lovely about them is a lot of times the seeds are in one location, not throughout.
Right.
So you can, when you're practicing, you don't have to worry about punching through if that's something you're worried about.
Yep.
Also, there are all kinds of different pumpkins with all different kinds of thicknesses of walls.
Exactly.
So that also works. But of course, just like you both said, it's very hard to get them this time of year.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, my girlfriend's growing them in the backyard, so we actually have a couple little seedlings that came up, and she's doing really good. This has been a brutal year for gardening, so she's all distressed about it, but she's doing a great job. Steve actually is joining very late, but thank you for joining. Actually, and
hi.
Hey.
Another old friend of the show joining us as well.
Wonderful.
So let me flip through this really quickly. I mean, get this. This is all the stuff we didn't get to. Captain EO,
crazy.
Rick Baker,
Oh my God.
Guillermo del Toro, Waylon Flowers and Madam. Here's your chickens again. There's too much to talk about. Terri, we're gonna have to have you back, and no matter what. And just doing all the pumpkin carving, it's wonderful. This is where you can find Carvers and Creators online on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Please, if you love us, if you love the content that we're putting out there, just go follow, like all of our stuff. Give us, tell a whole bunch of friends. We have great people like Terri on every week. Great artists. We're going to be back next week on Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 7 p.m. Eastern? Paul, is that what it is? I hate the time change. I can never keep up with it. But it's definitely one of the great spots. We look forward to this every week. Actually, let's go around the horn. Paul, Paul, show us what you have there.
Well, I'm still working as usual. In the next day or two, I'll figure it out. But so I'm gonna take. Well, I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself and make promises I can't keep. But I'll finish out the whole neck. And like Terri was actually mentioning, this part is solid right here. So I'll be able to take all this back and create maybe like a ruffle, like one of those. Matt, I might actually reach out to you. You can tell me how you did it. One of those ruffled old-timey collars.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a different kind of squash and actually make her hair. The Queen of Hearts had that big font hairdo. And I don't know. I'm going to see where it goes. Probably work on it a little more tonight, finish it up tomorrow, and post it at some point.
Great work. And Matt, what do you got there?
Okay, so I'm getting Lumiere kind of figured out here.
Nice expression.
So his candle, I didn't know this, but he's got a little drip coming down here, and then eventually, I think what I want to do is make the stem, the flame. I don't know. It's not long enough, but I might cut this down a little bit. But what I realized in looking at a picture of him is that the part of the candle holder is his lower jaw there too. So a lot more work to go on this end too. But this thing just lended itself to a perfect, fun, whimsical shape like this. So
it absolutely does.
And you know what it reminds me of? The Disney, the steam whistle on the train that has like a face on it. It looks exactly like that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Awesome.
So and I wanted to definitely let me go back to here real quickly. Banners, Terri, you can be. This is your website.
It's like one wheel down, three wheels up. The best place is Instagram and all of that. It'll get better.
Yeah. I mean, you're everywhere. I mean, like I couldn't even keep up with it. Go to her YouTube, and I know that I've been seeing that you go live. You're also on StreamYard as we are. So I
go live every Monday and Friday at 9 a.m. At 9:25 Pacific. On Monday and Friday. And Friday is an Ask Me Anything that can last up to 3 hours. You don't have to stay for 3 hours, but it can last up to 3 hours. And when you think that I talk to my Patreon page first for up to 2 hours, I can be talking for 5 hours, which is why you have gone long tonight.
So worth it. So worth it. I love every
Yes.
minute.
Absolutely. So check us out next Thursday, 4 p.m. We're going to have another exciting episode. We already have January filled out. We're already getting guests for February. So it's an embarrassment of riches. We're super lucky to have the talented people that we do. Thank you, Terri. It's been a pleasure. Paul, Matt, always great to see you. And we will see you next Thursday. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.